Welcome one, welcome all, welcome to another exciting episode of the Apollo program. I am Bridger. Well, my Apollo program. Today we're continuing our journey into the outer planets. This is Leaving Earth, a tabletop game utilizing a vassal module that I have recently built myself. We'll be releasing it fairly soon, hopefully next week after all goes well with our multiplayer test on Thursday. So, where are we? Let's get a quick status report. Our goal is to get half of the available victory points, because it's a solo game. That's the goal of the solo game. And we must also claim all the victory points here in the outer planets portion. So this reveal Neptune location, critical to our victory. We already have 20 victory points, and we are sitting at 44 unclaimed. When we get Neptune, we'll be down to 30 and 34. So at that point, we only need 4 victory points. So I think the Jupiter orbiter is going to be our easiest bet. Now, we have a little over 10 years, about 14 years to complete this. It's already been 16 years so far. But we also want to run up the score, don't we? We don't just want to get a win. We want to smash that victory as hard as we possibly can. So that, to me, suggests we should go for a slightly harder target. Because, to be honest, the Jupiter orbiter is probably doable at almost any time. We could try to do that, and we should try to do something else. I think the Mercury lander might be a good choice. Now, 2 possibilities, because we don't know what is going on with Mercury. Now that's interesting. Oh! I'm going to have to fix that. Found another bug. Where is it? Got to pull up my notes here. I originally built the module so that every time you start a game, it randomizes your the planets that are explorable, because Titan has, I think, 4 different possible Titans, essentially. And it appears that when you load a game, despite the fact that it's not a new game, it still randomizes those elements. So that's going to be a problem. I'm just going to try and remember that I basically explored all of Jupiter's moons, Enceladus and Saturn. I didn't explore Titan, I didn't explore Mercury, and I didn't explore Neptune, but we know that because of the missions that I've claimed. So ignore all the unexplored stuff. We've actually explored all of this already, and most of it was completely non-important. What's important, though, is that we never explored Mercury. So Mercury could be anything. Maybe it's possible to land something there and claim the mission. Maybe it's not. If it's not possible to land something there, this mission goes away and doesn't count towards our unclaimed victory points. So that helps us regardless. So we're going to try to do the Mercury lander and the Jupiter orbiter. We know how to get to Jupiter pretty easily. We've been there before. Although, to be fair, we've been to the Jupiter flyby box, which is not the same as Jupiter orbit. So to stop at Jupiter orbit, we need to have an extra 3 difficulty maneuver. So that's what we're going to have to plan out here right now. The first thing we did in 1972 before we ended is we got our grand tour, our Voyager probes, headed off in the correct destination. Now, we know Jupiter has some harsh, there you can see right there, Jupiter has some harsh radiation. So, yeah, we can see the ones that we've actually explored. Okay, that's good. That's right, we found life on Enceladus. That's good. And we know that solar radiation is not a problem for astronauts. Okay. So, let's plan out the mission to Mercury first. And then we'll plan out the mission to Jupiter, because I think the Mercury one might need to start sooner. Might start preparing for that sooner. Even though there's no window to get to Mercury, it takes a lot of power. You can see there's a 5 difficulty burn to get there from the inner planet transfer. So that's going to be difficult. So let's pull up our accounting. I must have closed it. Okay, give me 1 second and I'll pull it back up because it's important that we have the ability to plan. There we go. Now, in the physical game, we'd normally do this with paper and pencil because it's just quick and easy to jot all this stuff down. So this is actually, interestingly, almost what we need. This mission is done. So we're going to go ahead and wipe out this top part and replace it with Jupiter Orbiter. And then Jupiter Flyby to Jupiter Orbit is the final... Oop, look out. It's the final step. And we just determined that's a 3A. It's a 3 difficulty with an aero brake as part of it. Right there. So, we also know we're going to want to use a Galileo probe because the radiation is going to be a problem. In fact, it's a problem that we should probably bring 2 Galileo probes, which means a payload mass of 4. Oops. Payload mass of 4. Okay. And then we can actually go ahead and copy-paste that, copy-paste that, and copy-paste that. So there we go. That is now closer to what we need, but we need to fix all these other numbers. So these are delete. So Venus flyby box to Jupiter flyby is 1, then this is 2, and then this is 3, and this is nothing. So Venus flyby to Jupiter flyby, 1 difficulty with 4 mass. I think that's 2 times Juno, which are quite light. 1 difficulty with 4 mass is 2 Junos. Yep, that's easy. That's only 2 mass, so that means the next stage isn't that much worse. 2 difficulty, 6 payload. An Atlas will do that. Oh, hang on. We started too far back. We have a 3 difficulty, 4 mass up here. That's the first thing we need to do. That's an Atlas. This gets much worse now. Because that's a 4, which means we can't do this with 2 Junos. 1 and 8 is really got to be another... It could be 3 Junos, actually. Which is 3 strength. 3, so this is... These are 2 each? What are the Galileos? I think there might be 3 or 5 each. Galileos are 5 each. Yikes, that's going to be expensive. So that's 10. The cost for the Junos is 3. Oh, plus the Atlas, which means it's 15. And then this is going to be something different because we've got difficulty 2, mass 11. So difficulty 2, 11 would be 2 Atlases or an Atlas and 2 Junos, which is slightly less heavy. So an Atlas is 4 Junos, so that's 6 here. And the Atlas is 5 and the Juno, so that's 7 for cost. Man, this is definitely getting out of control. What we're going to do to make this really quick and easy is we're going to do... There we go. Now we can see the total cost as we're calculating it up. So now we've got 3 and 17. How many protons is this going to take? Difficulty 3... That's exactly 1 proton. That is... No... Couldn't have made it better. Now, the proton is going to cost us 12. And its rocket mass is 6. So what we need... Damn, that's not quite perfect. Is a total of 23 mass boosted into orbit. That's just a little over what 2 Saturns can do. So we're going to need to boost apparently I didn't bold everything here. No. I don't know why the font is weird, and that bugs me. So we'll fix that. Boost to Earth orbit. That's going to be a total of 3 times Saturn's, which is itself $45. 82. This is an expensive mission. It would be a little less expensive if we took a risk and only sent 1 Galileo probe. But to be honest, I'm not really comfortable doing that. If we're going to send a mission, I want a good shot at it succeeding. With only 1 Galileo probe, they've got, what's 3 out of 8? I mean, it's a little more than 50%, like a 60 some odd percent, 62% chance of success. With 2 probes, they've got whatever 37% times 37% is. Minus 100 minus that. So a roughly 87% chance of victory. So we increase our chance by about 25% if we send a second Galileo probe. That's pretty good. I want to send them both. Now, let's plan a Mercury mission and see what happens. And we're going to do the same thing here just for quick obviousness. Okay. So, the Mercury lander might not actually get us any points if it turns out you can't land on Mercury. But we're going to figure it out right now. So, Mercury lander requires 2 difficulty maneuver, and we can just use a regular probe for that because it's not necessarily likely that Mercury has radiation that we care about. Hey, Mental. Not a problem. Not a problem. We're doing some heavy maths right now. we're playing Leaving Earth. We're playing a solo mode. So the goal is to get over half of the victory points in the randomly assigned missions. And we're getting pretty close to that. We've got 20 victory points here playing as NASA. And we're hoping to pick up... we're really hoping to pick up the Neptune survey. We've already got a ship on its way there. This one here in the interplanet transfer is going to go to Venus, then it's going to take the Jupiter flyby, then it's going to take the Saturn flyby path, then it's going to take the Uranus flyby, and then the Neptune flyby. We know that Saturn doesn't have any radiation or hazards on it, but going by Jupiter, you hit a radiation belt that's bad. That's why we sent 3 Galileo probes on this thing. They're hardened against radiation, and even if 2 of them fail, we'll still have 1 that makes it to Uranus, I hope. All right, so the Mercury mission. 2 difficulty lander. It's 2 difficulty. And payload mass of 1, a Juno can do that. That's a rocket mass of 1 and a cost of 1. Perfect. Now, Mercury flyby to Mercury orbit is the next one, and that one's tough, I think. The flyby box... see, there's actually a direct shot from the Mercury flyby onto Mercury, but it's a 4 difficulty, which is... it's actually 2 Junos, isn't it? Huh. That might be better, looking at it now. 4 difficulty with 1 payload mass. 2 Junos would do it. And we know... did Laika die during the test? I don't think so. Oh, Laika was the dog, right? No. We actually have not sent anything into space except for robots. because this particular set of missions did not give us any goals to send out crewed exploration. So we haven't even sent a person into space yet. We haven't explored suborbital flight with humans. That's just how it works sometimes. Now, if you play the more difficult, higher difficulty settings, I'm playing on normal. If you play on hard or very hard, you're much more likely to get those crewed missions, which require you to send a crew to orbit, which means you have to build life support, and you have to be able to bring them back, which means re-entry is required. At that point, ion thrusters become a lot more valuable because they can take longer but provide more thrust for a lighter load. And since you're going to be bringing astronauts, that's a heavier load than a probe. So the ion thrusters are much more valuable. So I don't remember what we tested last that gave us this. We'll send it back because... Oh, you know what? That may have been the rendezvous? I'm not sure. Actually, we can check, can't we? We were just there. There we go. So if we send it back, where does it go? Oh, it was landing, huh? Yes, it was landing. So we wanted to pay to remove that so that our landing technology gets better. I think that was we were landing one of our Junos on Earth, and when landing fails, the component is damaged, and it was already damaged. So now we're going to land another Juno back onto Earth. So we have to check landing one more time, and this time it's a success. So we get to discard that, which means our landing technology has now been perfected. It will not fail on us. And this Juno is going back to the assembly area on Earth, where it can, it's going to get fixed and repaired on Earth. So I'm just going to do that right now so I don't forget. Okay. And it's a bit unusual that none of the missions are manned missions, I think. I think actually the only one that had a chance is this medium mission. I think none of the easy missions require you to send out crewed missions, but we got a Mercury lander instead, which is hard enough because Mercury is so hard to get to in terms of delta V. Okay, so anyway, we were looking at this, and we have a 4 difficulty maneuver with a 1 mass payload, and a 4 difficulty maneuver with a 1 mass payload. Okay, I had that backwards. 4 difficulty is not 2 Junos, it's 1 Atlas, which to be honest is not as good. We're going to do a couple 2 difficulty maneuvers instead. So Mercury descent is correct from orbit. And then this is a 2 difficulty maneuver. And this is a payload mass of 1 instead, which means 1 Juno. Now we've got a payload mass of 2 and a difficulty of 2. That's 2 Junos. You can see here, difficulty along the right says 2. Junos are able to carry 1 additional mass with itself, so 2 Junos could carry 2 additional mass at a difficulty 2 maneuver. So this is 2 times Juno. So that's a 2 and that's a 2. And that brings us to interplanet transfer to Mercury flyby box. That's going to be a rough one, I think. Interplanet transfer to Mercury is a 5. Whew. Okay, 5 difficulty maneuver with a 4 payload mass. We need at least a Soyuz or a Proton. So we'll use a Proton because they are 6 mass. They're less than a Soyuz, but they're more expensive. And now, Earth orbit to interplanet transfer is a 3, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. And then we've got 10 mass. So a 3 has to send 10. Another Proton will do that. Or 2 Atlases. 2 Atlases actually weigh more than a Proton. So let's probably do one. Oops. We'll do that. And that's another rocket mass of 6. And another cost of 12. This mission actually costs a little less than I expected, but we need to boost all this. So in order to boost 16 mass, we need the last thing. Boost to Earth orbit is going to require 2 Saturns to get 16 up there, which is 30 So 57 for this mission and 82 for this mission. So, whoa, not times. Duh. So 139 is our budget. And we've got, how many did we say in terms of years left? It's 1972. 1, 2, 3, 4, 14 years plus whatever our budget is this year. So we've got $140 plus our budget this year. It's going to be tight. It's going to be real tight, but I think we can do it. So which mission should we plan on first? I think the Jupiter one is going to be more limiting because we have those maneuver windows we have to care about. So let's work on that first. So with what money we have left, we're going to buy a Saturn rocket because those are 15. Those are our most expensive thing, and that gets us up into Earth orbit. We're also going to need quite a few atlases, right? Going to need 2 atlases. And what do our other missions need? Dang it. Let's go back here. The other mission... This is our mission going to Neptune. That one's already on the way. We're good to go with that one. Mercury lander needs no atlases. Okay. So as soon as we buy this other atlas, we're good. So I think we're done with this year. We don't need to move any more pieces. We actually, what do we have in space? This is actually not in space. It came back to the Earth, so that's done. We've actually still got a couple of probes out there. One is chilling in Saturn orbit. We had one in Mars orbit, but we actually brought it back because we descended onto Mars to test our landing. So we no longer have one in Mars orbit. And we do have one in Saturn orbit, just chilling there, because why not? We've got a probe out there, might as well leave it. So the Mars orbit one, that's the thing. So this goes removed because we dropped it onto Mars. Hey, Raphael, how's it going? I do like this game too. I recognize that it's not a super competitive game because of the amount of randomness and stuff that's going into it, but I still love the journey. I love the narration, the narrative that is created when you're playing this game. You know what I meant to do yesterday? I meant to put this on in the background. We've been playing Crying Suns, and the soundtrack is fantastic. And it makes good background for space. Alright. So, we're ready to go for the next year. Our budget is gone. We've moved our rocket already. So now we go to the next year, which means we also remove the time counter, which in the final version of the Vassal module will actually be a time counter rather than a random piece I have lying around. So the first thing we do in this new environment is we travel to the Venus flyby box, and for that, it's a difficulty 2, and we need to spend an Atlas and 2 Junos. Let's see if that's correct. Our weight here is 2, 4, 6, 10, and so if we get to carry 10 on a difficulty 2 journey, we do need an Atlas and 1 Juno. I think we brought an extra because we had extra space. So why don't we spend 1 Juno and 1 Atlas? Now remember, we've already perfected our Juno and Atlas. Oh no, Atlases are not perfected, but we're pretty sure they're good. So let's go ahead and do it. Come on. There we go. Okay, a success. I'm going to send that back. Every time I get a success from the Atlas, I'm a little bit more sure that they're good. But I'm not 100% sure because I didn't pay to remove the advancement card. So there's 3 cards here. I keep getting successes. I'm pretty sure they're all successes, but I don't know. They were fed from a deck that's 2/3 successes. So there's a decent chance that they're all successes. Decent chance. Okay, so now we have this flying over to Venus, and next turn it should be ready to take the Jupiter flyby, which is correct because Jupiter flyby, the transit through the Venus slingshot is available on even-numbered turns. Okay, so that part done. Now we have to continue preparing for our Jupiter mission, which means, what do we need next? I think we're definitely going to need another Saturn. So here's our Jupiter mission. We already have 2 Atlases, so that's done. We have a bunch of Junos. I don't know if we have all of them, but we need 3 Saturns and a Proton as well. So let's go ahead and buy what we can. So we'll buy a Saturn, and then we can't afford the Proton, unfortunately. Oh boy, this budget is rough. We already have 4 Junos. We need 5 total for this. Can we afford anything else over here? Oh no, this is going to be a problem because our budget is stretched so tight and thin, but we need so many Protons and Saturns. But we are going to need more Junos, so I guess we'll buy more Junos. I mean, is there a situation where we could replace our Proton with a couple of Atlases? Maybe. We might need to adjust the mission at some point. We'll see. Just because I don't think we're going to make the budget on the Protons. They're very expensive. Alright, so in this case, we can't buy another Saturn. So that means we'll have to buy... I'm going to buy an Atlas and a couple of Junos. Maybe a probe. Because your budget doesn't carry over to the next year. That's just how government budgets work. If you don't spend it, you don't get to keep it. So that's the end of 1973. Let's go to 1974. We got to spend our money more efficiently than that, though. So now we've got 2 Saturns, but we need a third. But we also need, what, 2 Protons? 2 Protons for the Mercury lander, and another Proton for the Jupiter orbiter. I guess we buy a Saturn and another couple Atlases and see if we can... this is going to be really tough. All right. And this year, this comes off, and it's 1974, which means we are now allowed to take this Jupiter flyby maneuver, the maneuver that uses the Venus slingshot to get us on the trajectory towards Jupiter's flyby. So we can take that, and that takes 1 year to get to Jupiter that way. And we are now ready to go to 1975, which means this comes off, and we're ready to take the Saturn flyby. Let's make sure our numbers are aligned correctly. Yes, 1975 has the Saturn icon. We are on the Grand Tour. If you want to take a quick look in that bottom left box, right about in the center, you'll notice there is a single year that you can leave Earth from to use slingshot maneuvers to hit every other planet in the outer solar system. That is actually the year that the Voyager spacecraft was launched, 1972. And it reached those other planets at the appropriate times because they just happen to be aligned in the right way due to the way their orbits work. So where when you get to one, it'll slingshot you in the correct direction to intercept the next one. So we took that magic year to do our own grand tour, specifically to get out to Neptune. I'm not entirely certain how you get out to Neptune without that, because it looks like even though there is a way to get to Neptune via Uranus slingshot in 76 to arrive in Neptune in 80, how the hell do you get to the Uranus slingshot by 76? You'd have to be in the Saturn flyby box that year, but if you're in... But you can only get to the Saturn flyby box. I guess you could go to the Outer Planets transfer and try to align that with the time that you're going to arrive in Uranus, but that's the only way to get to Saturn is to arrive at the right... All right, I'm going to stop trying to figure it out. But point is, it's difficult. So we moved for this turn. Now we've got to spend our budget. How close are we to launching this Jupiter orbiter? We have all the Atlases we need. We have all of everything we need except the Protons. So let's order a couple of Protons, one for this mission and one for the other mission, and then another Juno just for the hell of it. And now we can start boosting. I think I figured out a way we can save some money. Instead of using 3 Saturns for this mission and 2 for the other, we can use 4 for all of them, right? Let's take a quick look. The mass we have to boost for this mission is 23. 2 Saturns can only boost 20 into orbit. So that's why we had originally planned for 3 Saturns. But this mission has room for the extra 3 mass. We just have to figure out a way to boost it all up there. Okay. So, can we... Yeah, we can boost everything here except for 3 Junos. So 2 Atlases, 2 Junos, and a Proton. Does that get us to 20? Plus the 2 Galileo probes. Oh, you know what? We didn't buy those earlier. When we had the extras, we'll definitely buy those now. Or at least one of them now. We're going to throw away... Do a quick retcon here because I forgot about those. I didn't have them in the right place. So those are gone. And we'll buy a Galileo... It won't let me buy a Galileo. We're going to give ourselves $5. Buy a Galileo probe. Alright, so now we've got 1. We've got time. We don't have to launch now. But here's the idea. We'll launch everything in 2 boosts, and we'll be in good shape. Alright, so to the next... Oh, I'm sorry. We're in the Jupiter flyby box. We took our time trigger off. We figured out that this is the correct turn to take the slingshot from Jupiter to Saturn. So we get to and put 2 time triggers on the Saturn transit. Now we're ready to go to 1976, where we pull 1 time trigger off. We get a new budget. We can buy another Galileo, because we know we're going to need. And are we going to need 1 more Proton? I think we need 1 more Proton total, because we need 1 here. 3, so we need a total of 8 Junos. We have 5. Well, that's easy enough. 6, 7, 8. Okay, we now have enough Junos. We don't have enough Galileos, so I'm going to buy that right there. And now we're out of money, so we're going to 1977 to acquire more money. This might be the year we have to launch in order to start making sure we get to where we're going. But this comes off, and we are now able to make the Uranus slingshot because it is 1977, and Uranus symbol is here, so we're able to do this, but it's going to take 5 years for us to get there. It's literally, we're going to get to Neptune in the final year of... Oh, you know what we missed? Sorry. Is tested only once. So Rendezvous Tech could be problematic. Let's see. Mars Horizon. I'll look it up after the show. I hadn't heard about that. Is that... Oh, it's a colony builder? Is it like Kerbal Space Program plus a colony builder? Like, so Kerbal Space Program plus surviving Mars? Kind of looked like that. I do like playing multiplayer, definitely. Now, before this, I've only played the Mercury expansion as well. Just so you know, the way that the Outer Planets system, what it adds, if you're unfamiliar, is it adds the outer planets, obviously. Everything past Ceres and up, all of this is added. But more importantly, it adds the concept of these maneuver windows, where you can only, any maneuver that has a little icon with one of these symbols on it, can only be taken during years that line up with these specific windows. And what this chart here is, it shows you when you can start in a given maneuver to continue on one after another and chain them together. And that's important, because if you want to take the Saturn slingshot in the Jupiter flyby box, you can't do that if you're not in the Jupiter flyby box on the right year. But if you get there too early, you're lost. Because in the bottom left corner, you see that exclamation point? That means if at the end of your turn you have a spaceship in this area, it is lost. If you didn't change your trajectory, you're just flying off into space because you're flying by Jupiter. You're not orbiting it. So you can use the Jupiter flyby maneuver to get yourself to Saturn, or you can get yourself to Jupiter by aerobraking in Jupiter's orbit, or you can spend a lot of delta V to burn to the outer planet's transfer. But if you stay in the Jupiter flyby box and don't do anything, you just fly off into nothingness. So that's how these chains work, is these give you the years that line up. So if you want to get to Saturn, we took the 66 on the far right. It's the 66, 68, 69, 71. We started leaving Earth in 66, got to Venus 2 years later, and that was the year that we were allowed to take the Jupiter slingshot, and then that allowed us to get to Jupiter in 69, which is the year we were allowed to take the Saturn slingshot. So Those are pretty cool. Plus the proton rockets. Honestly, with the proton rockets, I'm having a hard time convincing myself to ever go and build the Soyuz rockets. The Soyuz rockets, I think, need a discount in this expansion, to be honest, because the cost to, well, maybe not in a multiplayer game, because in a multiplayer game, I might trade somebody for the Soyuz tech. But in a, I'll give you my proton if you give me your Soyuz. Okay, perfect. We make a little exchange thing. But the Soyuz tech it's so expensive to research that if you have proton, the Soyuz is just not necessary. Now, don't get me wrong. Having Soyuz to be able to more inexpensively boost stuff off of Earth would be great. But it's so heavy that using it for anything in space is really cost prohibitive. The proton is actually at a mass where you could use it to maybe not only get yourself out of Earth orbit, but maybe get yourself out of the inner planet's transfer. And I'm pretty sure that's what we're doing with our Mercury lander. We're using a proton to get us out of Earth orbit, and then another one to get us over to the Mercury flyby box. Anyway, and the missions, the way the missions change in the outer planets is very interesting, because all these explorable missions appear as you explore other things in the outer planets area. So they add suddenly, boom, there's a new mission you didn't know was going to be possible, and maybe you have exactly the right tech to do the Jupiter orbiter or the Enceladus lander or whatever. Jupiter does look beautiful. Look at that big, beautiful thing there, and all those moons that are so close together they should be smashing into each other due to gravity, but it's okay. It's an artist's interpretation. So where are we? We are in the Uranus flyby box, and we're trying to determine what our budget is going to be for the rest of this thing. We were counting, and then I got distracted by the chat. I'm very sorry. So, we know we've got a total of 4 Saturns, and that might be enough. We bought the 3 extra Junos, and we bought the extra Galileo last turn. So now we just got to count it up one more time to be 100% sure. So, 1, 2, 3 Junos, plus 5 Junos equals 8 Junos. And we have 8 Junos. I kind of want to send one more along with them so that when we rendezvous, we don't explode. I actually might be able to use the probe for that. And hope. Yeah, it does. It has hidden missions, which is very cool. Like this Jupiter orbiter, that was only revealed when we revealed Jupiter. The Enceladus lander was only revealed when we revealed Enceladus. And that's dependent upon the actual tile that you pull. So looking at Enceladus, ignore the one on the left. That's a bug I need to fix. But on the right, you can see there's a bee icon on Enceladus. And that meant that when you flipped over and revealed Enceladus, it pulls from the bee mission deck, the bee Enceladus deck. It could be either of these, actually. They're shuffled together. So this deck has all the Bs, this deck has all the As and the Bs, and there's another deck that has all the As, but I guess that was disappeared, or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. Anyway. Oh no, here we go. Here's all the Bs, all the ABs, all the As, and all the Bs, one of those. But the point is, depending upon what you find on Enceladus, it changes the possible missions that you can be assigned. So you won't get an Enceladus lander mission if it turns out Enceladus is inhospitable. And you won't get a Jupiter orbiter mission if you get a different version of Jupiter. So it's kind of cool. Anyway. See you later, Mental. We checked the Junos. We're good on Junos. Let's check our protons. 1, 2, 3 protons. We have 3 protons. We need 1, 2 atlases. Is that it? Yes, and we have 2 atlases. We have more than 2 atlases. So I think we're ready to start boosting. Now, here's the tricky part. We need to come up with a way to get exactly 20 twice. So, here's a proton and an atlas. That's 10. Here's another proton and another atlas. That's 20. And we definitely need at least 2 atlases and 2 protons, so this is going to get boosted. We're going to send that over to the station ship. Why not? And we have... No, we only have 3 Saturns, so we have to pay for the other Saturn right now. Okay. So we've got perfect Saturn tech, so we're going to spend the 2 Saturns and boost that group into Earth orbit. So now we have exactly 20 already up there waiting for us. Now, theoretically, if I've done my math right, everything else is going to weigh exactly 20 as well, and we can get that up into orbit. So let's find out. So we know we need the 8 Juno rockets. We know we need 1 more Proton. And we know we need 2 Atlases. Uh-oh. Wait. No, we don't need 2 Atlases. I'm sorry. We need the 2 Galileos. Yes! Look at that! Exactly 20. So now we spend the 2 Saturns. I love it when a plane comes together. And we boost this into orbit. We'll give it the lander ship. So now we have these 2 stacks in orbit, but we need to properly rendezvous them into different configurations. So the first is we rendezvous them into a combined group. Then we split them off. This is where it could get real dicey. Can a Proton boost something directly into orbit? It can boost 2 things directly into orbit. So for 12, we can send up 2 replacement Junos if this rendezvous doesn't go well. So we're going to try that. Gulp. Here we go. Pulling it up. This is rendezvous. Oh, wait. We have perfect rendezvous. When did we get perfect? Oh, no. When did we get perfect rendezvous? That's right. Our rendezvous is perfect because we broke a couple of Junos with our rendezvous because we had two failures, and we happened to have sent up enough extra Junos at the time that we still had just enough left. So when the final card was a success, we were able to remove it. Okay. I had forgotten that. So now we can properly set up these missions. So I'm just going to bring these stacks right over here in order to properly line them up. So here we are. Let's get the Jupiter one set up first. So the 2 Galileo probes and an Atlas are the final stage. Oh. Let's give that to... This is for the Jupiter orbiter, so we'll make it look like that. I accidentally sent up too many Galileo probes. Oops. Oh well. You can just chill up there for some reason. Here. You're there. So 2 Galileo probes, then we'll have a stage separator, and then an Atlas. Next, we get 3 Junos and a stage separator. Then we've got an Atlas and 2 Junos and a stage separator. Where's my Atlas at? There it is. Finally, we got a Proton. Now, if I've done all my math right, that should be the stack. Stage separator in there. That should be the stack that makes it where we want to go. You know what? I'm going to do 70% here, so we have a little more room on the right when we expand our rockets out. Anyway. Now, what's left should be enough for our Mercury lander mission. We start with a probe and a Juno. Oh, we were supposed to send a regular probe. Whatever, we're going to send a Galileo probe because that's how we roll. And then a stage separator, and then a Juno, and then a stage separator. And then 2 Junos and a stage separator. Hang on, I did the wrong thing. Where am I looking at? Oh, there it is. 2 Junos and a stage separator. And then a Proton and a Proton. That's exactly what we got left, so we've done our calculations properly. You know, somebody actually thought this might make a good mega game if you do like a really hard version, including like stations and everything. You have one person that manages the budget that determines what the money gets spent on each year. You have another person that does diplomacy and talks with the other factions. and says, hey, USSR, I know you've got, a space station up there. We really need to heal our astronaut. Can we come use your medical bay? Whatever. And then you've got, oh, well, for a price. And then you have somebody else that actually sitting there at a desk planning out all the missions, and somebody else that acts as like Capcom that kind of decides what all the missions are. Where they have the overall authority to say, this is the mission we're going for. That's the mission we're going for. Things have changed. We're going to scrap that mission. Plan this mission out. You need to do it more efficiently. Find another way. It has to be done. Those kind of things. It seems like that could be pretty fun, right? Where you get like 4 people or 5 people on a team where they're working against the other teams. And even to make it more interesting, because if you have infinite time, you can plan these things perfectly to some degree. But you make it, a timed thing. So every year is like 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And so, people can come with some pre-made plans and stuff. I don't know. Seems like it could be fun. But we're ready to go. Question is, when can the Jupiter orbiter leave? For Jupiter, it has to arrive in Venus on an even-numbered year, and it takes 2 years to get there, so we can't leave for Venus this year, but we can leave for Mercury. So the Galileo probe here can go to the Inner Planets Transfer, and we're going to have to use a different marker for a time thing, and let's make sure we're doing this right. 3 difficulty, and we've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think it needs to be a regular probe. I think I boosted the wrong one, really. That's all I did. So let's retcon that properly. This can go back to assembly area. Okay. So now we definitely have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in terms of weight. And a proton at difficulty 3 can carry 17. So we're good. The proton fires. We have perfect protons. No, wait. We have protons we think are perfect. And so far, we're continuing to be right. Stage separator comes off, and we're on our way. Next turn, we will launch our Jupiter orbiter, and we'll be ready to go. In the meantime, what do we do with the leftover money? We're basically doing every mission we can except the Enceladus lander, which, to be honest, if we're going to land on Enceladus, we need to get Saturn. I don't even know if there's a window to get to Saturn at this point. It's 1977. Yeah, technically we could get there if we left next year, but that's not possible, so I think we're going to have to throw away this extra money and just go to 1978 and see if we're right. See if everything works as planned. So 78, this comes off. This one is supposed to arrive in Uranus in 82. So there's 4 left. Yeah, so that's all correct. So this comes off also. And now this can transfer to the Mercury flyby. To do that, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 on a difficulty 5. Difficulty 5, the proton will carry up to 8. So it is able to get to the Mercury flyby box, but that's going to take a year. So we put another token on there. They can't move again this year. Meanwhile, 78, we can launch our mission to Jupiter. So we're going to take the maneuver to the Inner Planets Transfer. That's a 3 difficulty mission. And we're carrying 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus 4 is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 mass on a 3 difficulty maneuver is exactly how much a proton can carry all by itself. So we're spending the proton and crossing our fingers. Okay, still a success. I think we've pulled about 10 of these, and I think that means our protons are good. Okay, so that's on its way, and that also gets a time marker. So we technically have a budget. There's no other missions we can realistically get to, so we're just going to continue. 1979, time marker comes off, time marker comes off, and time marker comes off. So now, going from the Mercury flyby to Mercury orbit, does not take a lot of time, but it is a 2 difficulty mission. And the weight of... why do we still have a proton here, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4... to do this 2 difficulty mission. Wrong thing. 2 difficulty mission. We could have just done an Atlas. Why were we doing to do Mercury flyby to Mercury orbit? It's supposed to be 2 Junos. I think I forgot to spend a proton when I went. Yeah, I forgot to spend the proton, that's all. So this should be 2 Junos to get the other 2 mass to where it needs to go. Stage separator comes off. So that gets us to here. Our Junos are perfect, so we don't have to test them. Now we've got the biggest problem because A, we don't know what's on Mercury, and B, our landing technology is tested a little bit, but I'm still unsure. So first thing we need to do to do this is we have to spend enough thrust to get down there. That's 1 Juno rocket will work for our purposes to try to drop our probe down onto Mercury. Now we have to test our landing. Cross your fingers. Oh, we successfully did that too? Wow, those boys are great. I forgot about it. Okay, so now we get to flip Mercury over. Valuable samples worth a lot of money on Earth. Too bad we didn't bring any rockets to get us back to Earth, but the good news is we get to complete the Mercury lander mission. We have a working probe on Mercury. We have now officially, quote-unquote, won the game, but we're going to run up the damn score. No, technically, it's only 1 once we reveal the Neptune location, but we're still going to run up the score. So the next thing that happens is we try to get to Jupiter. So these guys are headed over here. And theoretically, 2 difficulty. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 payload means an Atlas and 2 Junos. Does that seem right? 3 difficulty. Did I say 3 difficulty or 2 difficulty? 2 difficulty to get to Venus flyby. Yeah, an Atlas will carry 9 and each Juno will carry 1. So that's exactly correct. Dang it. I need to actually click these. Control D. Space stage separator off. Okay. And we have 1 year to get there. And now we go to 1980. This comes off. This comes off. Too far. And now we take our Jupiter flyby, which takes 1... Did I take too many stages off? I think I took too many stages off. Because the Venus flyby to Jupiter flyby box should be 3 Junos. Oh, no, that's correct. The Atlas should have its own stage separator is the thing. So that gets us to here with a time marker. Gulp. So we advance time, remove the time marker, remove a time marker. And now, this is the tricky part. Got to get to Jupiter orbit. It's a Jupiter orbiter, remember, and it's going to require an aerobraking maneuver. Now, we did test aerobraking 1 time. I think when we went to Saturn, right? We still have 3 cards in there because we did get a success. So I put the success back in aerobraking because I didn't want. I knew we weren't going to be able to test it a lot. Here we go. All right. Now, first we have to pass the Jupiter radiation test, and that is a 4 or less damages the probe. Now we've got 2 probes here. Each one has got radiation shielding. So it's actually a 3 or less damages the probe. So here's the first probe. We want more than a 3. Oh, the first probe is damaged. Oh, no. Here we go. Okay, the second probe makes it. Now we got to test our aerobraking. Cross your fingers. Oh, it's a success. We successfully kissed the atmosphere of Jupiter to slow ourselves down and get ourselves into Jupiter orbit. And that, my friends, is another mission claimed for NASA. I mean, nobody's going against us, but it's another mission claimed for NASA. Raphael, by the way, if you like this game, I just picked up Stellar Horizons from Compass Games. Not picked up, I got it shipped from the Kickstarter. It came like a month ago. And man, I've been dying to play that. It seems really good, but I can't play it online and I can't play it in person because of the COVID thing. So I'm stuck just looking at it every day. Like, I think I'm going to play that solo. But I offered them to make a Vassal module, because if I'm going to play it solo, I'd kind of rather play it on Vassal, because it's quicker and easier and saves easier, and I don't have to get the table set up. But they didn't answer me yet, so sad times. All right. That means we're only waiting on our Neptune thing here. So it's 1982. 1982 is when we can take the Neptune flyby, and that's a 4-year journey. And 4 years later, we make it to Neptune. Now, technically, you reveal Uranus when you do that. Do I have these backwards at the start? I think I might. Need to fix that. All right, one more thing to learn about. Okay. And, 4 years later, 1, 2, 3, 4, we get to claim this, which means there's only 12 unclaimed. We almost got every mission. Now, we're playing on normal difficulty, so we did a pretty good job. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. That is Leaving Earth. I hope that you have enjoyed it. We'll get back to Unity of Command tomorrow, where we take on the Germans north of Rome. Instead of doing a rush for the Apennines, we're going to try to defend Rome for a bit and see if we can take the historical track to victory, since the rush for the Apennines seemed incredibly difficult. All right. I'm going to grab some lunch. Have a good one, everybody.